I'll tell you what,
right here, boy.
I love my job. Country Conversations with Cactus Jack, and look who I got in the WiLLiE 102 studio. We got Rockabilly Hall of Famer Stanley Walker, and we've got up-and-coming recording artist Jonathan Lynn right here.
He's got a hit on his hands.
He does. What do you think of that?
She went to Harvard.
Yeah. She went to Harvard. Tell us.
And I went to WiLLiE. He went to WiLLiE.
Yeah.
I didn't go to WiLLiE, no.
Well, when you sing, you play like a Jew,
I went to
all
Jesse.
right? Jonathan, tell us about this new single right quick here.
I love that. Yeah, so she went to Harvard, I went to WiLLiE. Huge play on words written by Bernie Faulkner, who was the original keyboard player for the band called Exile.
Exile.
You remember that? Well, won't you give me just one
I know.
chance?
Yeah,
Maybe we can make
Easy now, we're on YouTube.
But anyhow, so Bernie Faulkner, a Kentucky boy, wrote that song, and nobody recorded it. And yours truly did.
That's
so
great.
You know, it's always neat when you get to be the first artist to cut something.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
so anyhow, I did that, and you need to listen to it. Huge play on words. She went to Harvard. I went to WiLLiE. But hey, you were talking about a cool song that it actually mentions in the choruses. It says, you know, I love Merle Haggard, and she loves Eddie Van Halen. So it's a compare and contrast, but I love because it says Merle Haggard right off the cuff.
Where do we go from here? You're playing a lot of shows. You're playing a lot of dates. Stanley's playing, still working at Eddyville at the community center.
Yep.
And you're going to be at Eddyville Founders Day.
Yep.
Got Mark Hobbs on the guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Scott, local legend, on the bass.
Them boys. They're great talent, man. They're great talent.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, them pickers don't get enough recognition.
You're right, they don't.
No.
Or songwriters. Jonathan's been writing some songs.
My buddy Mike Scott, he's had some problems with cancer, you know, and we've been worried about him, but he's doing good now.
He hangs in there.
And he sings anything you want to mention. He knows it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and can you believe he's 84 years old? 84 years young.
84 years. You know what?
Yeah.
Well, I hope I look as good as you.
Oh, my God, you don't look like me, son.
Yeah, you're going to have to improve some, Jonathan. Ooh, I don't believe I said that.
Oh, you guys are something. This has been a great morning.
Whatever you drink, I'll take two of them.
No, don't drink no more.
Oh,
That's what it is then.
now we know now we can say, you know, I tell the story about how I met Stanley Walker fishing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who he was for 20 years.
Really?
Yeah. I walked in Executive Inn one night and he's up there singing. I went, that's Stanley Walker. I knew him as Stanley, my fishing buddy. Yeah.
The Executive Inn. Ain't that an old relic?
This has been a great morning.
Oh, yeah.
This has been a wonderful morning.
I'm having a blast. Tell us a good story about the slide guitar. We said on the radio we was going to talk about slide guitar.
Well, back in the 60s, I worked Vegas out there at the Fremont Hotel. And I used to take a shot glass and use it on the Johnny Cash song. I forget the name of the song, but anyway, I used the shot glass. Well, Wayne Newton was on there with me, so I said, Wayne, can I borrow your steel guitar bar? He let me borrow it. He said, now don't lose that, Stanley, because Grandma gave me that. You know, I lost that bar the time I left him to went and do that song. It's somewhere in that Fremont Hotel, that bar is there.
Wow.
Unless he found it. I hope he found it.
Then he's going to be like,
But I had to manage
That boy lost
losing
that.
that Wayne Newton steel bar.
yeah.
And a million good stories of how long did you play in Vegas? I know you were out there with Ray Smith, right?
Man, I don't know, man. I worked several places there. I worked the Golden Nugget and one place on the strip. I don't even remember the name of Thunderbird, I think. But I don't know. I guess we went out there 2 or 3 times.
So you did tour in and out. You weren't just a long-term house band like some of them are nowadays.
We might stay a week at Fremont, a week at the Golden Nugget or something like that, you know. But that's about it.
You kind of went everywhere with Ray Smith, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
How many years did you play with Ray?
Almost 20.
Yeah. And Ray Smith, if y'all ever heard the song Rockin' Little Angel, that was who Stanley played in his band. Canada, United States.
61, I believe that was #1 record.
Yeah. Well, we play it on here once in a while.
Down from the sky,
And I
down
just
from the
recorded
sky.
over with Ray's voice on there with me.
Really?
I did.
You know, I'm super honored. I shot a music video, and my first music video here in Paducah and Lone Oak, but over at Parker's Drive-In,
Yeah.
And so we actually went in there and kind of made it look, it's 50s thing. So the video, we go back in time a little bit because there's a song called "You Will Never Leave My Mind," and it shows the couple back when they were young. Well, we shot it and used a lot of the restaurant. Well, this one particular booth we used, and then the View magazine did a story on me and that song and doing that video in Paducah. So they put that in the magazine, and then they put the whole thing on this plaque, and it's hanging up there inside Parker's Drive-In right above that booth, and it says this booth is where Jonathan Lynn shot his video. But then, this is what I was going to say. I love that right next to it is Ray Smith's picture.
Yeah.
So it's two Paducah boys right there.
Yep.
Now we just need to get yours up there. Hey, speaking of Western Kentucky boys, my buddy Reggie LaFay, who played in Las Vegas, world-renowned saxophone player. Well, anyhow, he just recorded a song of mine that I wrote and released 3 years ago. Beautiful rendition of a song of mine called "You're All I Need." You ever heard him play saxophone?
No, I don't think so. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't.
So
We need to get Stanley a copy of your album so he can.
We do. Yeah, so he can start.
We can get him becoming a Jonathan Lynn fan and playing Jonathan Lynn
I
music.
wish my buddies would get together. Hey, speaking of getting here, Eddie, if you're watching this, you need to get up here and finish my album, buddy. I know you're busy, but I need to get this album out so I can bring Cactus Jack, one of them.
Yes, sir.
Different radio stations.
What about me?
And Jonathan. Get Jonathan the album.
Y'all talked a lot about little David Wilkins off camera and off the microphone at the radio station.
Man. I still do.
Jonathan, you tell your best little David Wilkins story, and then I want Stanley to tell his best little David Wilkins story.
Well, that boy knows how to talk. And I
don't know him personally, really.
You don't?
No.
Well, I went to, during Fan Fest or Fanfare last year, I was in Nashville, and I had dinner with him at Cracker Barrel. Well, anyhow, he's sitting there telling me about him and his good buddy, Johnny Russell. Who
Yes.
said, "There's no place that I
Great writer, good singer.
So he was telling me that they went to this kind of like a fat camp, right, to lose weight. And he said they were doing this and they didn't like the food. So Johnny said, "Hey, David, they told me about this place we can go up the road after everybody goes to bed. We're going to sneak out and we're going to go up here and get some of the best food you've ever had." And little David said, "Doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of what we're here for?" But it didn't matter. They still went and had all this food. And he said, "I'm telling you," he said, Johnny Russell would be like, "You got to try this pie. You got to try that one." And we're sitting there eating the Cracker Barrel.
Lord.
He's telling me this.
Oh.
And next thing you know, it comes time for dessert. And the waitress is like, "Well, we had this pie, this pie, this pie, and all these desserts." And little David's like, "Well, I guess, you know what? I'll take a piece of that one and a piece of..." And I was like, wow. But, he still looks great. And
I'd love to see that.
But he's sitting there and he's telling me, he said, Conway Twitty, I'm a huge Conway Twitty fan. But he said, Conway recorded a song of mine that went all the way to the top of the charts called...
Georgia Pulling on My Ring.
Oh, yeah, you know that.
I'm going to record it.
All right, I love that. So he said, Conway was actually going to cut a couple more of my songs. I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "We had him on hold, or Conway come into the studio when we were cutting the demos, and Conway said, 'Little David, I don't know who has dibs on those songs, but I want them.' And one was called Three Ring Circus, which is a phenomenal song, and the other was called One Man Show." Well, little David starts singing it, and he starts banging on the table to the beat, right? And now keep in mind, we're at Cracker Barrel, and he's sitting there with his pie and his little pie plate, and he starts singing. The plate about bounces off the table, and he says, "I better stop." So anyhow, he says, "You know what, Jonathan?" He said, "I'm just going to send you the demo." And he said, "Actually, I got to have my son help me. It's on cassette tape, but I want to get it put on MP3 for you." So he sent it to me. And if you know anything about Conway Twitty, Conway had 55 number one hits, though. 55, right?
He was a gentleman.
Everything he sang turned to gold, pretty much. So I called little David on the phone. I said, "I don't care what that song is. If little David's going to cut it, give me that sucker." I said, "If Conway's cutting it, little David, give me that sucker. I'm going to record it."
Yeah.
And I did. And it's called One Man Show.
Yeah.
There's
Stanley,
my short story.
You were telling us about Conway. Did you have any Conway stories?
What happened with me and Conway was I was working at a club in Toronto, Canada, and he was in there, hearing me and Ray. And it's before he got, popular with country music.
Yeah, he was still doing It's Only Make Believe and stuff.
Know.
Yeah,
he's tried everything else, and he made it big, you know. But he asked me to do White Lightning 2 times.
all right.
I'll never forget that. And he's such a gentleman.
Did you do it?
You know, you meet all kinds of people in every kind of business, but this guy I just never will forget it. I can see it like it was today. He said, I done White Lightning, and I thought, this guy loves country music. And then on the way back to the States, down here, all you could hear was, hello, darling.
Yeah.
I thought, he's gone. He became a household name.
Yeah, that one still.
They say he sold more records just about anybody. I done this song. I heard him do little David Wilkins' song, Georgia Pulling Up My Rain.
Yeah.
And Conway, he hooked it, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You know, Charlie Pride also did that.
Did he really?
Yeah, but they both rushed to put it out at the same time. Matter of fact, Charlie put it out, and Conway was like, I'm getting it out first.
But the music and all, I go for music, too, as well as the singing. You know, in other words, the drums and the bass and steel.
Yeah.
And it's just produced so good. I don't know who produced it, but
yeah.
You can read on the album, but that's one of the things that I dislike about all the electronic. Oh. You never get liner notes. You never get studio information. You have to Google it, and then who knows if who put it on there knew what they were talking about.
Couch produced my album. See, my first album, Jimmy Couch.
Oh, yeah.
Guitar player. And good friend of mine, and he's so creative. Yeah. He sat down there, and it's amazing. It was amazing to me just to be around him guy, because I went in this little corner saying he knows what I'm talking about. And Jimmy Couch sits down in the chair and tells them what to do, and it didn't take 5 minutes for him to have to produce an arrangement.
Yeah,
it's amazing the talent that guy had.
It's nice to watch professionals at work.
Overlooked, you know. I don't like, you know.
They do.
Well, we talk a lot about songwriters on here. Yeah. Jonathan, who is your favorite songwriter? If it's little David Wilkins, you can say that, but I'm sure it's Jonathan Lynn, if I'm guessing.
Well, no, actually, Paul Overstreet.
Paul Overstreet.
He is.
How could you do without him?
He is the pen behind so many big songs.
Say, check Jonathan Lynn on Facebook or check.
That'll be a bunch because I keep throwing songs up.
All right, Stanley, what's your favorite songwriter? Maybe a favorite songwriter story.
Oh, me. Well, now listen, I tell you what, I don't want to overlook Dottie Rambo.
Amen.
Gospel singer. I worked for her for about 5 years.
She was your first job, wasn't she?
Yeah, professional job. But she wrote some mighty big gospel songs, boy, and I loved her, and she loved me. And I walked in this music store one day when I first went to work for her. Didn't have a decent pair of breeches, you know, overalls. And I seen this Gritch guitar on the counter. She said, "Stanley, you can pick that up. It's yours." Huh? I didn't have anything.
Yeah,
you can watch the first video and see the video of that story and that guitar.
She bought it for me.
Really? Oh, you still got it?
Oh, no, it got in one of my marriages. I divorced that dude.
Yeah, you know.
But anyway.
Ain't no money in the ones you really love, Stanley.
I love a lot of songwriters. I love The Family Bible by Willie Nelson. You know, it's just so soul music. And I'll tell you, one of my buddies was Tom T. Hall.
Buddy.
Well, I met him when I worked at Executive Inn. I was wanting to meet him, but
Me
so
too.
many people, you know, you can't. Yeah. I thought, boy, I wish I could meet Tom T. Hall. He was playing in the big room, and I was playing in the lounge. And so this guy walked up in front of me, and it was Tom T. He said, "Now, I got a chair waiting for you over by your wife. When you take a break, I want you to come over. I want to talk to you."
Oh, I love Tom T.
Man.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
One of the first major star interviews I got to do when I first started in radio was Tom T.
Soul.
Yeah.
So much soul into his writing.
Yeah.
And another guy, we can't forget Carl Perkins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Carl was a soul man. I love him to death. He's gone, but I mean, I recorded down there at Sun, you know, but he was my favorite artist.
I was in Jackson, Tennessee the day he passed away. I was making deliveries when I used to drive a truck and did radio on the weekend. And everywhere I went that day, people were just bummed because Carl Perkins was gone. He was such a huge part of that community.
So you're talking about songwriters. I got so many, I couldn't name them all. Just like Haggard. How could you overlook Haggard? My Lord, the way his soul, such soul music he had.
I think the idea for me is to get people to pay more attention to the songwriters because
Really?
I sing everybody's music.
Yeah.
I do. And I write some stuff. And I know what it takes out of me to write a song that I think stinks on ice.
Well,
you know,
I
I mean,
was a writer. Never did. Never was a writer. I just don't have it. I don't have the talent to write. So
I can sit down and write something in about 30 minutes, but I never have written anything I liked.
I can get ideas. You know, like a lot of people. I had an idea for a song one time. That's all I had is an idea. But I believe people ask me, how did you learn? Well, what made you get to where you're at? You know, I said, well, God gave it to me.
Amen.
And they asked me stuff like that, and I had this song in my head, and I can't write it. He could write it and finish it for me. But it's called, I took my God-given talent, played for the devil, lost everything I ever loved. That's as far as I can get.
That's the hook right there.
Because people ask me, how did you get that done? It's a gift. It's God's gift. That's what it is.
Jonathan, I think you've been invited. I think you done throwed down. You've been challenged.
Now looking back, I give credit to the one up above.
And this is not copyrighted so far.
That's right. It's not copyrighted. So
we can get that one in there.
You got that from me.
Guys, I could stay here and talk all day, but I don't know how much longer my battery is going to last. But this has been an amazing blessing to hang out with you.
You believe that? Cactus Jackson's battery's going down.
The Energizer Bunny is winding down here.
Not Cactus Jack, the plastic here. That's where it's the Chinese battery that's going down. Cactus Jack is just rocking.
What a morning I've had, man. This has been great. So,
Jonathan, parting shots. What do you think?
Young talent like this, man, that's money can't buy it.
You are right. You are right. All we got to do is get people to pay attention to him.
Because I'm going to put him on when he walks in the door.
There you go. And he will do it. He's done it to me numerous times. Yeah. So when you come in, you just plan on taking the microphone.
Would love him to death.
Yes, sir. You don't meet anybody his age that's stone country anymore.
No.
Or if you do, they're not doing it commercially.
I don't have anything against the music. Everything changes. But I'm a country boy. He's a country boy.
Right.
He lets his heart out. I could tell it. The way he talked and the way he sings.
You just heard an opinion on Jonathan Lynn from a Hall of Famer who has done it all.
I've done
many years.
I guess I have. I hadn't made $1 million, but what would I do with it?
You haven't written any songs either, at least.
No, I haven't written any songs. I wish I could write one.
But I think we're going to get these two to collaborate. Maybe we'll get an album with Jonathan Lynn and Stanley Walker songs.
I'll finish my song and I'll put it on my album.
There you go, brother. Guys, thank you so much. We appreciate you. We appreciate you coming hanging out with me. Man. On the radio, Country Conversations with Cactus Jack and WiLLiE 102.1, soon to be streaming on WiLLiEradio.com. Hasn't happened yet, but soon.
That's right.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother.